Good evening, my non-existent viewers. It's TVB, and Happy New Year. Today is... Oh, hold up. Hello.
Happy New Year.
Hey, Danny, guess what?
Yeah.
Do you want to be a surprise guest to my skizzo rambling? I literally just started recording it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh, awesome. Good to hear from you, man.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well. And, so I just, I started recording my skizzo rambling. This is, it's that time of year again where, this is, New Year's Day. Just like last year for 2024, I'm determined to do one skizzo rambling on the first day of each month this year. Or like sometime within, the first week of each month this year, depending on my schedule, of course. And, kicking off this trend that I'm going to start, I'm going to be killing two birds with one stone, this being the January skizzo rambling and just looking back on 2024 and how the year went.
Damn. Yeah, I know you're literally just saying that to the viewers.
Yeah, and just a heads up to you as well, I'm going to be doing these on a monthly basis again. And also, and tomorrow is going to start top 9 week. It's going to start with the top 9 best movie. My picks are top 9 best movies of 2024, and next it'll be the worst, yada, yada, yada. And these are, and I'm going to make this, a top 9 week, or top 5 week, at the start of January, and also start of October for my channel's anniversary, and everything. This January, though, all the top 9s are going to be movie themed. All of them are going to be movie themed, and you'll see why at the end of it.
And, even though, even though you're recording right now, I mean, like if I were to say, for example, one video you will do is, top favorite movies of 2015 turning, 10, and 2005 turning 20.
Oh yeah, I shall.
And as I always say this, I can't believe, because again, this is just proof we're getting old. 2015 was 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be my 10th anniversary of my very first zoo internship at the Bronx Zoo, like our summer going to junior year of high school.
So I don't even remember you going there.
I mean, again, to be fair, it was like 10 years ago. That was the July of 2015, and yeah, that was and with all the just like I'm speechless. All right, so huge thanks to Danny for joining me for that first part of the skizzo rambling. And I also just wanted to, before we get into the rest of this video, I just wanted to go over some basic channel statistics. This is what I always do on New Year's Day, make a video like this. It's been a tradition ever since 2014 where I share how many views I got within the past year. So as of today, January 1st, 2025, my channel has 644,218 views. And I have 2,021 subscribers. I uploaded 93 videos, not including 4 live streams and 1 short I did on my channel this year. And I count up all the likes and dislikes I got on all the videos and streams and shorts I did in 2024, and I had a total of 385 likes with 12 dislikes. So my like to dislike ratio was 32.8. And yeah, I gotta say, thank you guys so much for getting my channel to 2,000 subscribers back in September when I, just moved to Ohio. And, I had so much fun making my whole, my 2,000 subscriber special of the photo montage of all the zoo animals that, all the photos I've taken. Which, I really wasn't in a rush to hit 2,000 subscribers. Hell, I think at one point I said, I was like, yeah, I would rather lose subscribers than keep getting new ones who are never gonna watch my videos. If this is your first time ever, watching my channel, if this is your introduction to my channel, and if my content doesn't seem interesting to you, and if you're never gonna watch my videos, don't subscribe, please. Just do me a favor. But anyways, I did not write a script for this video. I never write scripts or skizzo ramblings. I refuse to do so. But I did make a little list of bullet points of things I would like to discuss in this video. Just talking about not just how my year went, how my 2024 went, but also more toward the end of the video, I just want to recollect on the first half of this decade that just ended. Like, right after I got off the phone call with Danny, I made my, looking back on the 2010s video I did, New Year's Day of 2020, 5 years ago at this point. I just wanted to take a little trip down memory lane, just see, like, how this decade started and look at how it's going. It's just, and also go over my plans for 2025, some more short-term stuff. But yeah, starting things with, with 2024, this past April saw the end of my DoorDashing days. Like, yeah, I quit DoorDash back in April. My very last order, I think it was a double delivery with Panera and Chick-fil-A, near my mom's neighborhood, my dad's neighborhood in New Jersey where I grew up. And yeah, I stopped DoorDashing earlier this year because, like, at the start of this year, January, February, March, I was only ever really DoorDashing just, like, on my off days from Dogtopia. This is the second Dogtopia I've ever worked at. Like, I would only really DoorDash, I was just like, I don't really need to DoorDash as much as I used to, since I had, like, a stable, like, regular job again, near my dad's neighborhood. I was making money from that. So I was only really DoorDashing just, like, on my days off, and, whenever DoorDash offered peak incentive pay hours, but this past April, I made the difficult decision to just, like, stop DoorDashing altogether. Because, like, it was more for my car's sake than anything else. I think that reminds me, I need to get, even though I've been done with DoorDashing since April for the past 8 months at this point, I still have some car-related maintenance problems. I need to go to the Subaru dealership tomorrow and get them fixed. Jeez. But yeah, for my car's sake, and also just, like, for my career sake, and just, like, for my personal life's sake, DoorDashing was just a big time consumer, and, like, like I said, I was taking as many extra shifts as possible from Dogtopia this past April and May, so I was just like, I don't really need the side hustle that much, like, at the moment. And the days off I would get from Dogtopia when I didn't have to come in for extra shifts, I would start spending time just looking at zoo jobs, just applying and sending out cover letters and trying to get interviews, which, after Liberty Science Center interview not working out, last September, back in 2023, and, and working at Dogtopia, during that time, I think I was interviewed by, like, I want to say 6 zoos before I got hired at this one in Ohio. Like, it's crazy to think that, like, that this is that I've been here for the past 4 months at this point. But ending my DoorDashing days in April, it's just like, I would rather, because, DoorDashing, again, part of loving something is no one let it go. I loved dashing. Like, it was fun. It got me out of the house. It was making me a lot of money and stuff like that. But, again, for my car's sake, and it's just like, hey, I didn't get a bachelor's degree in English and zoology from CSU to just DoorDash the rest of my life, Me working on my writing and my reading and, just, like, reading more books this year. That's one of my goals, is to just read more books on a monthly basis, as well as just write and just brainstorm more story ideas and just, like, get a novel done possibly this year, and just draw more pictures for my Instagram page, and just draw more in my sketchbook. Like, that's putting my English degree to use. Me working at a zoo finally, and I finally got a zoo job after going back and forth between dog daycares and, zoo internships. I'm finally putting my zoology minor to use, while DoorDashing is putting neither of those to use, really. So I think, again, it was a worthy sacrifice. If I had to go back to DoorDashing, like, I wouldn't dread doing so by any means, but I'm gonna try to avoid it as if I can, because, I'll get more into this later. I did get a second job recently in Ohio. This is, aside from DoorDashing, all the times I was DoorDashing within that year and a half of my life when I was doing it, I've never had, like, a second job. I've just, like, juggled an unpaid internship in Nebraska with, like, part-time job at Safeway, and I also started DoorDashing at the same time, too. And yeah, that was just, like, that was a big part of my life, and it was weird saying goodbye to it. Yeah, because, again, that Dogtopia, this is the third Dogtopia I've worked at. I have visited the Dogtopia here in Columbus. It's really nice, and, but I think the second job at the gym was the right call, because, like, working front desk is way less physically strenuous than working at a dog daycare or at a zoo. Like, you're not going to be running around lifting things and, doing stuff like that, and doing a lot of physical, like, lifting and stuff like that. God, I'm repeating myself all day, like, when you're working front desk at a gym. And yeah, like, So I wasn't like I wouldn't have dreaded working at a Dogtopia again here in Columbus, but I think it was just time for something different. And yeah, also 2024, I traveled a lot more this year. I traveled more this year than I did in previous years, like, honestly. Because 2023, my mom and I went to Rome for 2 days, and then, like, this past March, we went to Paris together, because my mom speaks French, so she flies for United Airlines, and we've flown. And she, like, flies to Paris, like, quite a bit. So, like, this past March, like, hey, you want to join me on one of my layover flights for 24 hours? Just 24 hours in Paris? Like, yeah, that was awesome. Like, we got crepes and champagne at the Eiffel Tower, and, like, we saw the outside of the Louvre, but we didn't get to go inside of it because the lines were ridiculously long. But we saw Musée d'Orsay instead, and I told my mom all about Gojira, one of my favorite metal bands. I was just like, they're from France, and I was telling Mom about that. I was like, oh, what if Gojira plays the Olympics this summer? And to everyone's surprise, they did. They stole the show at the opening ceremony with the animatronic Marie Antoinette holding her own head and playing at the spot where she was executed, like, Asaira, the French, that song from the French Revolution, which translates to "It Will Be Okay." Oh my gosh, that was... I'll gush more about Gojira later in this video, as well as Green Day and other bands later in this video, but, like, that was the most metal moment of the entire year. And yeah, like, that, but definitely, here's the thing with my 2024, the way I see it, there's, like, a before Ohio and an after Ohio. So, like, from, like, before Ohio, the pre-Ohio move, I was, like, from January 1st of last year up until, like, early September. So for the first 9 months of this year, basically. Excuse me. Yeah, that was the highlight of that was seeing my very old friend Gotti in San Francisco. This because he moved to Jerusalem with his family our summer going to 8th grade. And I've talked about that in other videos I've made. We filmed a few videos in San Francisco when I was with him. And yeah, then our friendship was completely over email and Facebook and stuff like that, like throughout like high school and like college, and he's earning his master's degree. He's planning on moving to California next year, so he and his dad were looking at apartments, and I was like, okay, well, I'm still my mom's flight benefits. I gotta hop on this opportunity and seeing Gotti while I can. And yeah, again, 24 hours in a new city is all you need. We saw Muir Woods. We went to Pier 39 and saw like God knows how many sea lions just harping at each other. Oh, I got him wasted. we went to a bar and we toasted to California. Oh man, that was a day I will not gonna forget for a very long time. And of course, I went back to Denver for the first time in a year and a half for Christmas this year. I saw my mom's new place in Golden, and like I saw my uncle for the first time in a year and a half, and my friend Mark too. We saw Nosferatu together. I reviewed it, as you guys know, and yeah, it was just it made me weirdly nostalgic, being back in Denver. I'm not gonna lie, life there was like during my YouTube hiatus. Again, I'm very glad my hiatus for making videos is over. Like spring of last year, but you know what? Life was good in my uncle's neighborhood in Denver. Like again, I have a lot of fond memories of door dashing in Colorado, after I left Nebraska. And, like, just meeting people and getting out of the house and just enjoying the neighborhood. And again, I give that Hopscotch a shout out in my Nosferatu review, because that was my favorite bar in that neighborhood, and it closed last year, unfortunately. But yeah, it was great, the different places I got to see this year. And with interviews and like looking at zoo jobs, I'm not gonna lie, it was a pretty long and lonely, difficult grind. And like I've been a lot better lately about not comparing myself to others since I got this new job in Columbus. But it's just like sometimes it gets so like difficult when you're applying and you're going through interviews and they keep choosing other candidates. It can get discouraging, and there were moments where I was just like, oh geez, I'm always gonna be a loser, and like I start comparing myself to others and dwelling on the past, just bad memories. And it's just like, but I remember like when I waitlisted for the seasonal jobs at Columbus and they reached out to me, that was like the email offering me an interview was the same email the day I got an email from another zoo that interviewed me for an educator position. I made a whole presentation about rhinos for that. I posted those drawings on my Instagram page that I did of rhinos for my presentation. Yeah, the day they got me the email like rejecting me for their position was the same day I got emailed by the Columbus Zoo being like, hey, we want to be interviewed for the Congo expedition. And I was just like, yeah, sure. And like the interview went down, and then a week later, like the same day, I think it was I believe it was like International Zookeeper Day that July. Yeah, and I got the email, they offered me a position. I was like, oh, Columbus, Ohio, here we come. And here I am. And that's the thing. This has been a theme ever since 2021. That was the year I graduated college. Like, the second half of the years usually go better than the first half. Like, that's been the case for me since 2021. Like, I remember 2020, that year was so crazy. I can't believe it's been 5 years ago. Like, I look back more fondly on the first half of 2020. Like, you know, and then, like, I look back on that more fondly in the first half of 2021. So, like, January through July. Like, because I remember, excuse me. But, I look back on the second half of 2021, you know, my last, August through December that year, like my last semester at CSU before I graduated. I look back more fondly on that than like 2020 as a whole. Like 2020 was just such a huge like roller coaster of highs and lows for me, which like we'll get into more of that later. While 2020 was just a slow but steady progression of good vibes leading up, to me graduating from CSU, and things have just been getting better. Each year has been better than the last, but like the second half of each year, especially, like so basically end of the second half of summer and the fall and like up until the holidays have generally gone better for me than the first half. Like, because 2021, that was my last semester at CSU, was that fall when I graduated that December. And, like, for 2022, like, the first half of that year, I was still in Fort Collins. That was, I got accepted for the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo internship, like, that April, but I had to, like, do so much planning for it, and, like, getting out, just, like, getting ready to leave Fort Collins and all the things I had to do to require that. But, like, hey, leaving Fort Collins, quitting my job, my older Dogtopia there was definitely the right move to make, because I've had obviously like the past 2.5 years I've been pursuing this career in the zoo field, interning at the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, and like the Riverside Discovery Center right after that was, again, back then it was like the best fall of my life. Excuse me. As challenging as this is being an unpaid intern and move as often as much as I did during that time. But yeah, like 2023, it's like the first half of that year, I left Nebraska, I got into a car accident, and like, I was screwed over by the wildlife safari in Oregon. Like, drove all the way out there for 3 days, and, was expecting to start my internship there, and they basically just told me to piss off, and, which, again, that's why I took my YouTube hiatus up until my internship at the Utica Zoo, which, again, that was a wonderful summer. Again, it was unpaid, but, like, excuse me. Also, I worked at a pet resort during my YouTube hiatus right before I left for the Utica Zoo. And, like, that was, that July was just such a wicked time of my life, honestly, because I got to do a whole, like, dino day for the lion exhibit at that zoo. Which, I made a video about that. And then, like, I moved back to New Jersey after that internship ended. I reunited my dad and my sister, and, like, and Danny and Shane and Eric and all my other, like, old friends from high school. And yeah, like, I started, I started stopping as relying on door dashing that fall, because I got I worked at my newer Dogtopia. And also, I did meet someone really cool on Bumble that fall. Like, we didn't become, like, serious, but, like, I remember we went on a couple of dates. I met someone really cool on Bumble that fall, and we were going out for 2 months. And yeah, I really hope she's well. And also, I did meet someone in Ohio this fall, too, who moved recently. So, like, unfortunately, we're not, like, seeing each other in person anymore. But yeah, like, it's cool. Like, oh god, where the heck was I going with this? But yeah, the first half of each year is generally not as great as the second half. So maybe the first 6 months this year, like, my plans are still kind of up in the air, but, like, about how the year is. I'm like, as far as I'm concerned, 2025 is gonna be like my first full year of just not moving. Ideally, at least, because as of now, the idea of leaving Ohio for like another zoo just doesn't excite me at all, or any other job for that matter. Like, all things considered, I've just been like rock and rolling in the Columbus Zoo and just been enjoying life the past 4 months that I've been here. And yeah, that's crazy that for literally the first half of this year, I was back home in Millburn at my dad's house. I had no idea I ended up in Columbus of all places. Like, you know, and that was because the game plan I had for last year was like at New Year's Eve, I told this to Eric and Daily Reacts during that live stream I did, which, by the way, thank you all so much for tuning in my live stream last night. That means a lot to me. It was like, you know, hey, if I don't get a zoo job by the time the Green Day concert in New York City rolls around this August, I'm going to move back to Denver. As the months went on, as I was going through interviews, and as I was, like, you know, gaining more hours at Dogtopia, I realized, you know what, that's kind of a stupid plan unless I get hired at the Denver Zoo, or like the Downtown Aquarium, or the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, or some place like that in Colorado. I was like, if that weren't the case, what am I really going back for, aside from my mom and my uncle and all my old friends from CSU and like the other relatives I have out there? Like, you know, what am I really going back for, like, aside from them? Like, you know, I realized I had something really good going for me in New Jersey, and even if I didn't get hired at a zoo at all this year, that was still just a solid plan B, just staying at my dad's house and just working on a Dogtopia as much as I could until I found something better. Or potentially, like, you know, giving the Liberty Science Center another shot. Like, if I had to move back to New Jersey for whatever reason, like, I would consider giving that place another chance. As well as, like, you know, because I during my YouTube hiatus last spring, I was interviewed for a foreign educator internship at the Downtown Aquarium, which, by the way, my first memory of seeing an animal was at that aquarium in preschool. I saw a tiger there as a preschooler, which, again, prompted tigers as being my favorite animal, and they always have been ever since. That's my dream species to work with. But, yeah, like, but I realized, like, no, I better off just staying in New Jersey than, like, schlepping all the way back there, because I'd have to uproot my life again for, like, not the right reasons. But yeah, the Green Day concert was this past August. Again, I did a whole, like, 20th anniversary American Idiot skizzo rambling about it when I moved here to Ohio. Yeah, excuse me, that was gross. But yeah, that was such a, like, Green Day is one of those bands that, like, gets better after each time you see them live, honestly. Because the first time I saw them was with Daniel during the Revolution Radio tour in 2017 with Against Me. That was a good opening act. And the second time was with Casey back in 2021. Again, fall of that semester was my favorite semester at CSU because it started off with a bang. Casey and I saw them with The Interrupters, that was their opening act, and Weezer and Fall Out Boy, which, all four of those bands did such a great job. And this summer, they toured with the Linda Lindas, great opening act, and Rancid and Smashing Pumpkins. Like, I would totally see Green Day live for a fourth time, like, just as, like, not just for Green Day, but also just who else they tour with, because they have a good taste in bands that they, you know, share their tours with. You know, that's part of the fun with concerts, that when multiple bands are just playing together. Because I bought a concert ticket to see Beartooth, because there's a metal band I've been following for a few years now. Like, I didn't even know that they were based in Columbus until I moved here. So I decided to, like, you know, reluctantly, I was like, I'm going to start 2025 off with a bang by seeing Beartooth in concert. And yeah, like, you know, just moving here in Columbus, being here in September, it's so weird. Like, I'm making a new playlist on Spotify called Goodnight Maplewood as kind of like the follow-up to my, like, Goodbye Millburn and Hello Scottsbluff playlists. Like, Scottsbluff being the neighborhood in Nebraska I lived in, you know, when I was interning at the Riverside Discovery Center. That's where they're at. And I've been making a new playlist called Goodnight Maplewood as a reference to one of the neighboring towns of my dad's place in New Jersey. I would go to Maplewood. There's a cool Irish pub there called St. James Gate that I would drink at, like, you know, once or twice a week. And just, like, I met a lot of cool people at that place, so out of respect for them, I'm going to call that place Good Night Maplewood instead of, like, Goodbye Millburn 2.0 or something. Excuse me, I just had to sip some water. But, yeah, I gotta live my own life. And I think all of you deserve to do so, too. I was interviewed, like, because my very first job was at the Turtleback Zoo in New Jersey, like, back in 2017 when I was, like, graduating from high school. They were hiring again earlier this year, like, last year, and I did get an interview from them, but, again, they chose their candidates, which, and then, like, in me applying to the New York City zoos, like the Bronx Zoo and Central Park Zoo, I tried applying, they wouldn't even offer me interviews, and both of that was pretty upsetting back then, at the time, but you know what, it's a tough field to get into. And if you're only ever, like, applying, like, a little word of advice to aspiring zookeepers like me, if you're only ever applying to zoos, like, in your immediate neighborhood, you're kind of screwing yourself over. Like, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. And yeah, I remember, like, when Shane and Danny and I went off to, like, Grasshopper that last night, and the same day I quit my job at my newer Dogtopia. Like, we was also my send off with Shane and Danny. We went to we saw a Coraline for its 15th anniversary at the Cinemark Theater, and then went off to a karaoke bar in Morristown, and like, and Danny and Shane and I were just talking about, like, our families all being here in northern New Jersey, and it's like how I was on the phone with Danny. We were talking about this, how, like, you went off to this new place, or I didn't really know anybody. It's like, well, it's like, again, back to my whole thing with tigers, not only was that the first animal I ever remember seeing, but I told Danny, hey, you tell your family I was born near the tiger for a reason. Like, 1998. And also, because that's, again, like I said, it's a species that I feel like I was, like, born to work with someday. Like, tigers are a solitary species who don't really, like, who just live by themselves, like, no family, no friends, no relationships. Like, father tigers don't take any part in, like, rearing the cubs. That's all the mother's job. So aside from that, like, tigers are usually just on their own. Again, back to Green Day, it's like the song Boulevard Broken Dreams, like, I walk a lonely road, the only one that I have ever known. Don't know where it goes, but it's home to me, and I walk alone. It's funny, like, because that playlist I had, like, at the start of my live stream last night when I was, like, singing and dancing to Through the Fire and Flames. Through the Fire and Flames, like, because I made a video talking about this back in 2020, that Thanksgiving, but it got blocked due to the copyrighted music. Like, I did my whole favorite songs per year I've been alive. I made that video, I turned it into a playlist on Spotify. And it's like, my favorite song of 2008 is Psychosocial, which I started the stream with. My favorite song of 2006 is Through the Fire and Flames by Dragon Force. And, American Idiot turned 20 years old back in September. My favorite song of 2004 is Holiday, and, like, with Boulevard Broken Dreams being a very close second. They're both on the American Idiot album. Yeah. Again, it's like, the Boulevard Broken Dreams is like, I walk this lonely road. It's like, I feel like that's one thing that Tigers and I and Green Day all have in common is, like, we, lots of people can probably relate to that song. Just like, hey, I walk alone. There's only one person you can really rely on, and that's yourself. It's crazy to think about that. But yeah, life here in Columbus, it's been, I'm still trying to meet people. Like, that's one of my goals this year, is just, like, make new friends and maybe find a new relationship this year. Because I remade, after, my last girl I did moved, I remade my Bumble profile, so maybe I can go on more dates this year, or maybe get a new girlfriend this year, but whether that happens anytime soon or not, I think I'm just really determined to just keep, I'm just gonna, like, work on myself and just keep being the best, like, trying to find the best version of myself that I can be, because, like, I know my roommate and his friends, and I know people at the zoo, and I've met some cool people at the bar I filmed, like, all the karaoke videos I filmed this year. I met cool people at that place. But I'm still trying to, like, make solid friendships, too. And I, like, I would rather, and as, again, like, I do want to get a new girlfriend this year, but, like, I would rather, just not, I would rather not have a relationship at all than date the wrong person. It's going to distract me from, my goals, like, being the best zoo employee I can be and juggling it with the front desk job at the gym, as well as, like, my personal goals, like making videos and reading and writing and drawing and playing Minecraft and Pokemon, stuff like that. I would rather just stay on the path I'm on right now than date the wrong person who's gonna like distract me from it. Now, if I meet the right person this year who's not gonna distract me from those things, great. But only time will tell when that happens. You know, you just gotta like. It's so easy to like slip into this trap of thinking that like, oh, that being in a relationship will solve all your problems. Like when you're single, it's like, ugh, I need a girlfriend, or ugh, I need a boyfriend. It's just like, do you? If you're not happy by yourself, you're not going to feel any happier with somebody else, because you're basically dragging them down to your level in a weird sense. So like, there's the more you just sit around just groaning about like how bad things are, the worse you're making it. And again, that's why I started going to the gym this past January. I went back into a steady like workout routine. Like I was seeing a personal trainer in New Jersey, but since I moved here to Ohio, since I gotta pay my own rent again, you know, my dad, God bless him, like for letting me live with him for those 13 months. I decided to like cancel my personal training and just like, 'cause I've learned enough from my personal trainer that I met this year to like know how to do. I got a decent form properly, you know, on a lot of like machines and things. That didn't make any sense what I just said. But yeah, I figured the gym was just like the right place to get a second job at, because with front desk, not only is a lot more laid back than like, you know, being on dog daycare again or being a cashier at a grocery store. It's just like I get to work out there for free. That's a huge perk. Like before or after my shifts or like on my days off, I'm definitely gonna use that. And yeah, just I think I'm not like obsessed with getting ripped. Like that was never like my goal, but I just really wanted to get in shape this year, both mentally and physically. Sometimes you just need a gibberish break, viewers. You gotta do the gibberish break. But yeah, I just, like I said at the start of this video, I wanted to, like, recollect on the 2020s. You know, for the first half of this decade. It's just, like, I'm like I said, each year for me has been better than the last. I'm very thankful to say that. Like, I look back, I'll say, like, you know, 2024 is, like, you know, like, obviously, like I said, I'm thinking more so, like, pre-Ohio 2024, because honestly, the Columbus Zoo this is the best job I've ever had, and I'm sure things will get even better from here, as long as I stay on the path. I just keep sticking to the plan. Excuse the background noise. But yeah, I'm thinking more like my pre-Ohio 2024. It's like, how does that chapter of my life compare to like, you know, the past, like you know, 2 to 3 years, so to speak. Because I feel like, you know, I don't miss college. I don't miss being a student. My fall semester of 2021 was my favorite semester at CSU. And yeah, college was like, it was a huge roller coaster for sure being at CSU. But like, it was, I wouldn't have had it any other way. Even though the second half of it was swallowed by a pandemic. Like, I remember, you know, the online classes actually worked in my favor quite a bit. Because I was actually more invested to learn the material. I wasn't stressed out memorization, you know, for the online exams that I took back then. But yeah, like, I don't miss homework. I don't miss exams. I don't miss, like, having to be at a classroom. Like, I like having a job and just, like, getting paid and coming home and not have to worry about, like, you know, studying all night or, like, writing an essay or, like, doing projects or stuff like that. That's been really liberating, honestly. But yeah, for 2022, like, I'd say that 2022 and 2023, sorry I keep kicking that part of my desk, my bad. But, you know, for 2022 and 3, it's like, I'd say the high points in those 2 years were higher than pre-Ohio's, like, 2024's high points. You know, just being at the zoo internships that I was at, you know, those 2 years respectively. But at the same time, 24's low points definitely have not been as low as 22 or 23's low points. Like, the 13 months I was home in New Jersey, my dad's house, like, I'm not too sure if I would truly rank those 13 months of my life higher than, like, any of my internships at the zoos I interned at. But I definitely look back more fondly on returning to Melbourne for over a year, being at my dad's house, than, like, my last 7 months in Fort Collins before I left for the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. Like, after graduating from CSU, like, you know, that last, like, those last almost 8 months I had just to like, just like applying to zoo internships and landing one and just like working at Dogtopia. That was that. And again, I definitely look back on those days fondly, but especially out of all these chapters of my life, I feel like I want to say there's like 7 of them. Fort Collins, just the first 7 months of my post-college life back in 2022. Then the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, that was like chapter 2. Then chapter 3 being the Riverside Discovery Center internship. Then chapter 4 would be like, ironically, those 4 months I had, when I was supposed to intern in Oregon, just, being in Denver at my uncle's house. Before, chapter 5 being the Utica Zoo internship. And then, chapter 6, definitely the longest. Being home at my dad's house and just like getting back on my feet, and this being chapter 7, I guess, being here in Columbus. Yeah, I'll definitely say I look back more fondly on being on chapter 6. I look back more fondly on being home in Millburn and being reunited with my dad, my sister, and my old friends from middle school and high school than like ending my time in Fort Collins and my YouTube hiatus and like being in Denver. That spring of last year after leaving Nebraska. But yeah, even like the tough times I've been through, I always try to find like the silver lining and just be like, be grateful for like the littler things. Like, hey, I saw like even the bad times I look back on like before this decade, just like being a teenager and growing up in Millburn, just like even like the bad times that I'm trying my best not to think about as much anymore. Still had like good qualities to them. Like, hey, like 2016 was a very difficult year for me. Like I was a junior in high school, but like I got my driver's license like December 2015, right? And I was finally old enough to see rated R movies without my parents. So that's when movie reviewing finally became like such a staple on my YouTube channel that year. I saw a lot of really great movies that year. And some really bad ones, too, which I enjoyed ranting about. Norman the North. Ice Age Collision Course. Excuse me. But, yeah, like... And, for example, back in 2019, which was 5 years ago at this point, I was devastated when I left CSU that semester. I really was. That semester home, I really had to, like, look at myself in the mirror and just take, take responsibility for, like, my actions. And it was during that time when I really fell in love with Avenged Sevenfold. I saw them in concert last year, and I saw Dragon Force with Eric, that November. And again, I'm hoping I could go to more concerts this year with Linkin Park touring, with Emily Armstrong as their new lead singer. Which I can say whatever you want about her as a person and her ties to Scientology, like that whole controversy went down, but I really like her as a singer. I think, like, again, she's not to replace Chester Bennington. May he rest in peace. They're just carrying on his legacy with a new lead. And I think the female lead was the right choice. Because if we got another male lead, then people will just compare him too much to Chester. Excuse me. It's not as easy to do that with a female voice. But yeah, anyways, like, with oh god, where was I going with that? Geez, that's going to be a theme throughout these Skizzo ramblings, is that they're just totally just all over the place. But yeah, I think back to those things. It's like, this has been a kind of a theme with my life the past year and a half at this point, I guess, is like being glad that those days are over, but looking back fondly on those days. Like, yeah, I loved all my internships, and I loved all the dog daycares I worked at. I loved the door dashing. For the year and a half I was doing so, I did enjoy, like, online classes, like, spring of 2020, and, like, fall of 2020, and spring of 2021, fall of 2021, those semesters, I do look back more fondly on those than I do on, like, my freshman and sophomore year at CSU, coincidentally, because it was, during a pandemic, with online classes, where most of our students were dropping out and not succeeding. But, yeah, I look back, like, I definitely look back fondly on those days. But would I want to go back and relive any of those days? Like, hell no. Like, I had to, it's like the Eminem song, Not Afraid, my favorite song of 2010. It's like, I had to get to that place to get to this one. I forget how that song goes, but it's like, if you're trying to get out, just follow me. I'll get you there. it's like, man, I've considered getting another buzz cut this year when it gets warmer. When my layoff period comes around at the zoo, which will probably be sometime this spring, I'll get my 2-month layoff period, then change departments. That's kind of like the game plan for this year, is like, you know, if I can't move up to a full-time position at Columbus, like at least like try different departments when I get the chance. So yeah, I gotta keep my eyes peeled on their website for when positions in other departments are opening, you know, so I get my 2 months grace period. Maybe since it'll be warmer by then, hypothetically, I'll get another buzz cut. Like, just keep my hair growing as long as possible now, so I can just buzz it all off. I remember the first buzz cut I got was back in 2019, after I ran out of pink hair products and let my pink hair fade back my natural color, being blonde. I got a buzz cut that March, and my roommate at the time was like, "Dude, you look like Eminem." So yeah, like 2020 and 2021 saw like the theme of like a new hair look with every year. It's like 2020 it was the quarantine beard, and 21 it was the buzz cut with the quarantine beard, and 2022 right after I left Fort Collins, I significantly trimmed down my beard. I've been trying to keep that ever since, just like, you know, finding the energy to trim my beard with my razor with multiple modules to it. That's another thing. I gotta be better about that this year, so I don't look like a crazy wild man from the forest. Hee hee. But yeah, with like recollecting on the 2020s, it's like, again, stay tuned for top 9 week and top 5 week, or the two kind of being smudged together. And I think this video is geez. I feel like there's more I'm gonna say. There's things I feel like I wish I had said in this video that I'm forgetting to do so, but like this is why I'm trying to make these kind of videos, like just keep them consistent on a monthly basis. So like if there's a point I forget to make in these kinds of videos, because again, I don't write scripts for any of these, I can maybe write in my notebook and just remember, okay, no worries, we'll just talk about it in the February 1st Skizzo Rambling. So yeah, there's going to be like a February Skizzo Rambling, March Skizzo Rambling, April Fool's Day Skizzo Rambling, SpongeBob Day, May 1st Skizzo Rambling, July 1st, August 1st, September 1st, maybe for October, because it'll be my YouTube channel's 12th anniversary. This October, right before my 27th birthday, which, holy cow, I'm officially going to be in my late 20s. Like, what is life this October? My favorite number times 3, 9 times 3. That's crazy. I'm going to be 27 this fall. But yeah, I have a very positive feeling about 2025. I truly do. And I really hope you guys do as well. But yeah, like, I can be like, hey, no worries, just in 4 more weeks, we're going to discuss that point I forgot to make in the next Skizzo Rambling. And yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say for this video. So I really just looking back on 2024, it was a very challenging year for all of us, but I thought it was very rewarding at the same time. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. You guys really are the best. And yeah, and here's to a better 2025. Stay beastly.